This lecture won't, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'd like to, a long part would be for discussion. What I'm proposed to describe is what is supposedly the evolution of transference between the very first day a person meets a psychoanalyst to the very last day when he finishes his analysis. In the case of he wants to work as a psychoanalyst, and in the case of he doesn't want to work as psychoanalyst. Okay. So I'm going to try to describe what belongs to the realm of psychoanalysis and what does not belong to this realm. I would say that the patient starts here. With his symptoms, driven by his unconscious, and with what Lacan called a term I like, which is xenopathy, meaning the way to react to the actions of the others. And so the patient comes and he says, I wish to start a psychoanalysis. The analyst will not decide that the analysis is starting to the very beginning. There are going to be preliminary sessions. The duration of these preliminary sessions is extremely variable. It can be 2 weeks, it can be 1 month, 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, never, okay. But the question is, what are the tools the analyst has to decide whether the analysant or the person is still in these preliminary sessions, or if it's actually psychoanalysis? Some would say it depends whether the patient is sitting or lying on the couch. I don't think it's relevant. What we wish to have here is an analysant. But the person might be out of the scheme of psychoanalysis. Okay, let's do it something like this. What's within this red line is the domain, the realm of psychoanalysis, and this is out of the domain. And there, if he is not analysant, he is in a state of, well, we say un fou, crazy, well, madness. It doesn't mean psychotic. It's very different. It's some kind of, let's call it madness. What is madness there? It is the fact that this person does not feel responsible for his actions, for what he is doing. It is, Lacan names that, and I love these terms, he calls them the belle âme. How do you? Beautiful soul. Yeah. Beautiful soul. Okay? Familiar with this term? Yeah. Very good. Beautiful. Oh, there's no. C'est comment beauty? B-E-A-U? B-E-A-U? Yeah? Oh, yeah. Beautiful soul. Okay?
So can I just, do you mind interruption?
Oh, no, I like that.
So responsibility, we might say that there's responsibility and then there's responsibility. I don't mean guilt responsibility, I mean, we might hope that the end of analysis is the place upon which the analysand fully assumes responsibility for their desire in all its complexity. But that seems different than the responsibility you mean at the beginning, which is more that I know I'm doing something, I don't understand what I'm doing.
Okay, so non-assuming.
Non-assuming, yeah.
Responsibility. Responsibility. No, the end is a Y or I? Y. Okay. And there it's a I. No? Well, yeah, I think so. Okay. Yeah, this is the realm where responsibility is mandatory. Okay. So the analysand is supposed to be not mad. Okay. My boss is horrible with me. My children are terrible. My wife is a bitch, what can I do with that? But I don't really feel it's my fault that I chose these guys or this wife. And so at a time, the analysand say, well, of course, but I chose this woman. She did not force me to marry her, and I said yes. So it's I'm responsible for having chosen this wife, even if I could not elaborate of her bitchiness. Well, it's due to my blindness and not due to her. It's not that she cheats on me. It's that I have made a wrong choice. Okay, all these kinds. So I say, okay, good. Now you are an analysand. Okay.
In other words, it's the moment where the analysand realizes that he has a part into what's happening.
Exactly.
And that could take a while. Often does.
Often
they'll get there.
Often. Sometimes it's. So these can be the realm of psychotherapy or whatever, Okay. Okay. Now, again, they are going to have two possibilities again. Before I name these possibilities, let's go into the dimension of the transference. This one is easy to name. I name it, well, no, hypnosis. That's where the analysant says, through his transference process. So this is the direction and the sense of the transference. En or An? Transference? En. Is in a way, he says, through a game of identifications. Please be kind enough to give me leads, to give me clues, to get out of my symptoms. And this is natural that the analysant ask for this and ask for leads. And because I express my fantasies, yes, I express my fantasies, and I need some leads. I need some clues, and up to the point of which is then totally out of the realm would be hypnosis. Okay? And in this domain, I suffer of my ignorances of what's happening to me. Ignorance. Okay? But in regard of this transference, what do we have? We have, in the same direction but the opposite sense, we have the desire of the analyst. Okay? And the job of the analyst is to refuse these elements of transference, and this, and of course we come to the main tool, which is the frustration. Okay?
The main tool, you said?
Well, a tool. Refusing the demand of love demand of the analysant, he feels frustrated, of course. But there are these. I think it's important to consider these as in the same directions, but in the opposite sense. And this is where it's put the desire of the analyst, is to contradict these love demands. Otherwise, if he accepts these demands, then the realm, then the analysant is quitting the domain of psychoanalysis, which occurs very often because it can be very satisfying for the analyst to stand here, better than there. Well, if I were you, I'd do that. You know, but that you shouldn't do that. It's and sometimes you have to put some some scotch or tape on your lips. Jesus Christ, why is he doing that? This is stupid. Okay.
So this is the other way of, is the subject presumed to know, right?
Okay, yeah, okay, sure. You said supposed to know, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. You know better than me, and help me.
But wouldn't it be taking on or believing this supposition of knowledge, right? Because the analyst is in that paradoxical position that knows there's going to be this attribution of knowledge, of the unconscious to some subject. But the analyst does not become that subject or that ego in relationship to knowledge.
Say again, I didn't really...
I'm sorry, the analyst does not take on this attribution of a subject of who knows, or a subject of knowledge.
He knows that he is put in this position. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the major tool which accompany the transference. And we will see at the very end that this position of subject supposed to know is going to be dropped.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay. Yes, please.
Okay, so now it's one thing to indulge our narcissism or the patient's narcissism by telling them what our opinion about what they're doing or not doing. I think we would all agree that's not a good thing. It's another, well, all right. I mean, if you're talking about analysis, it's probably not a good thing. It's not analysis, it's something else. But if we have an idea about how the patient is attempting to resolve a conflict by acting in a certain way, would we could say, I think you're trying to solve X by doing Y. Mm-hmm. Now that seems a little different than offering an opinion. Mm-hmm. You would agree?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, now the question is whether that is still being the subject who's supposed to, adopting that position as the subject who's supposed to know in the transfer.
I would say that during the process of psychoanalysis, the analyst is not 100% of the time occupying the position of the discourse of the analyst. It can be hysteric, it can be a discourse of the university, it can be a discourse of the master. But what is important in this case is that the analyst knows, is aware of this shift of his position first, and then to be aware that he is not going to distribute knowledge, but that what he is uttering at these times is going to be used as an interpretation. And as this, he has, in a way, to observe the effects it is going to have on the patient.
I agree. Yeah,
okay?
Right.
I know, well, you shouldn't do that, or are you sure that this is appropriate? And now what is going to answer to this? Okay, it's a way to transform these utterances into interpretation, and as interpretation, it's not that it's an utterance of truth. It is just observing the effects in return.
Right. So, and the other aspect of that is that, just like what I'm saying right now, and what you're saying, what we're all saying, just like these utterances, any utterance, in fact, is going to be incomplete. Mm-hmm. By definition. It's structurally incomplete. So if the analyst is aware of the incompleteness, by structural definition, then lack is already in play as long as the analyst knows that.
Exactly.
You would agree? All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
If the analyst identifies with a place of absolute knowledge,
Right.
then it's not an analytic discourse.
Yeah, and then there's no appreciation of the lack and the gap. Yeah. Yeah.
So what we expect here is a shift or an observation by the analysant of some kind of passage between the symptom and the symptom. Well, okay. How is he going to shift from symptom to symptom? What that is? What that is? The analyst has to listen to the tools the analysant is using to be congruent, to let real, symbolic, and imaginary sustain. To feel well, I need to read one book each week. For me to feel well, I need to work as a psychoanalyst. I need to work as a surgeon, and I use a scalpel for. Maybe I came because I'm a very young man, and I love to. I used to love to be sadistic with my cat and my dog, and but I'm studying medicine, and I want to become a surgeon. Okay? There is a shift between this sadism and the use of a scalpel, not to kill, but to cure. Okay? There is a shift from symptoms to symptom. Okay?
Is a symptom related to sublimation?
Yeah, exactly. That, for me, they are very, very similar. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
There's something quite concrete about it, like it is an object, or it is, I think of it as less abstract than sublimation. Like you're talking about the book, or the scalpel, or the roll.
I don't. Well, it's a question. I don't really know. I associate the two all the time, but I don't know what is subsuming the other. I presume that one is subsuming the other, but I don't know exactly which one is. But what's very interesting, if you're familiar with the real, symbolic, and imaginary, when you know the seminar called RSI, where Lacan put together these three torus and to build some kind of Borromean knot. And the seminar of the next year was the symptom. And the way he depicts the symptom as a tool to hold together the three others, which in this case are not as a Borromean knot, but just one above the other, so they wouldn't pertain. Okay, and the symptom exists as a way to make the three hold together. Okay, but what's very funny is that all along the seminar, when he shows these knots, they are one above the other, and the third is in the middle of them. See what I mean? But the funny thing is that you can transform the. You can transform one. Let me say again. You can displace continuously the symptom, the torus of the symptom, to make it appear like this. And in this case, I don't have the time to enter this, but actually, you have the. If you are looking from zoom out from far behind, it looks like a Borromean knot. But if you zoom in, you are going to see that one of these three is made by two of. Okay. So if you look from far away, it looks like a Borromean knot, but actually it's a knot made with four. Yes?
My understanding too was that prior to the RSI seminar and the Symptom, there was always given the precedence to the symbolic. And from a topological perspective, you can't say that one order takes precedence over the other two. And given that they are so radically heterogeneous, you require the fourth to hold them together in any way, shape, or form and have something resembling the neurotic subject to begin with.
It's absolutely true. It depends it depends how you. Well, if you look at here, you see here the purple torus is knotted in the middle, or it can be this way, or I don't know if I have it here, or it can be presented like this.
That's what you were showing there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's you can do that by moving it. It's if you by starting with the other I've shown, you can start with this one. And by grabbing it, you can turn it easily into this. Okay? And what's very interesting in here, it is, as you mentioned, it is tied to the symbolic in this case. But it could be tied to the imaginary or the real. And this would lead to different path of knowledge. For instance, I imagine that if it's tied to real, it can be, these Olympic Games or big sports. They constrain their body quite a lot. Okay, and in a way, what they do to their body can be their symptom. For the imaginary, we have to think of it.
Narcissism, maybe.
Maybe narcissism. Yeah, sure. For instance,
it seems to be a way to describe different character structure.
Exactly. And my hypothesis is that actually we never have access to only three toruses. We have always to do with a symptom. That we always have to deal with four toruses and never three. But the appearance is like, it looks like three.
And the fourth one is the symptom.
Yeah, the symptom. Exactly. That's the feeling I have.
Right.
And if you deprive, and the funny thing is that if you deprive someone of his symptom, nothing is going to hold. You see?
Yeah. Well, that leads to the end of analysis. But that's premature, right?
Yeah, symptom is part of the end of an analysis.
But you are saying you have to, as an analyst, you have to really respect the symptom.
The symptom.
The symptom,
Symptom or
The symptom.
The symptom. That's different.
that's different, right? You don't
Yeah,
respect the
symptom.
you analyze it.
Symptom is what you have brought from the very beginning. Okay.
Is it, how do you write it in French? C'est pas AI?
Yes, well, I don't know how to write it. Yeah, probably with an I or yeah, probably yeah.
INTHONE.
You know, it's a word of ancient French. It's yeah, c'est un mot du Moyen Âge, hein? Middle Age.
Il y a le saint, c'est la même chose avec les jeunes.
Oh, well, that's Lacan who is playing with Saint something, Saint Thomas, Saint Thomas d'Aquin, Saint Thomas. But actually, it was, as far as I remember, it seems that it's a symptom how it was pronounced and in ancient French.
I also heard it referenced as another way of saying a synthetic man. That it's something put together, it's not organic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My iPad corrects it to ain't home.
Exactly. Okay, so now we are in this there. Okay, and okay. Then the person, in a way, is finishing his analysis and is leaving the process, and he's supposedly be able to live his drive or. Okay.
Like living or
vivre, comment on dirait vivre, to live, L-I-V, not leave, L-E-E-A, not L-E-A, no, L-I. Okay, and what support this ability to live his drive? I would say that it's his own ethics. Okay, as we can expect that through this process, a certain number of inhibitions are foreign. We expect that his ethics of humanity has replaced the inhibitions. I would not steal money to a friend of mine, not because I'm inhibited, but only because it's against my ethics. Okay. That's why it's always a problem to put through analysis a pervert. Because if you feel that there is no ethics, but he is inhibited, you are pretty happy that this lasts a while.
Now, your definition of ethics is, I think, different than Seminar 7.
this is morality.
This has more to do with an obligation to the symbolic, to the greater symbolic, not just to your own desire. In Seminar 7, it was you should never give ground relative to your desire, which seems to me problematic. I think Lacan, something is off there.
I haven't worked enough on this seminar to answer, but I'm on the process of working on it. So next time I
Because
come.
you're more talking about a kind of obligation, like Levinas, an obligation to the other.
Sure, sure.
Care for the other as well.
Sure, absolutely. The values that seems to important to you,
Right.
and yeah, sure.
But isn't there something radical about living the drive that is more related to the real, not so much to
Yeah.
to the symbolic?
Good question.
I don't know. It's it seems that this is how Lacan formulates the
Because are you talking about an autoerotic jouissance, for example? Are you referring to jouissance and not so much desire when you talk about this living of the drive?
Well, I wondered if it was the transformation from the real to the symbolic. To live the drive would be to bring it into a symbolic register so that you're not psychotic.
But it's impossible to always, and there's always going to be a remnant. I mean, I think there's an impossibility also to bind the real.
Yes, but there is where the ethics intervene. You won't leave any kind of drive. You respect that you should not have intercourse with your daughters, and many you limit your. But it's different from the Puritanism. Which exists a lot in this country, as you know.
On the other side,
It's different. You can say fuck on the TV at 8 p.m.
yeah, the anti.
Okay, but you might decide to work as psychoanalyst.
Oh, right.
Okay. So there is the process called la paz. Okay. And this leads to the becoming analyst. We'll go into this later. But what about La Paz? La Paz, it can be formal or non-formal. It can be formalized as Lacan described it, you know. And then he said that it was a failure. Jean Clavreul once, as you might know, he was responsible for the secretary of the past. And he asked one day, Lacan, he asked him, but why do you, someone who wants to pass is talking to two passeurs? And you know what Lacan said? Lacan said, by talking to two guys, there is more chance that he finds someone that he's not too stupid. You see, that's...
I always like to make digs at analysts.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it can be very informal. It's what I call pass is any occurrence of transmitting, of transmission, and during his seminars, Lacan used to say that he was always passing the pass while he was talking to his audience, and that he was putting himself in the position of an analysant talking to analysts. And there we talk about transmission, we're not talking about teaching. It's very different.
Or training.
Oh, training, exactly. It's not training, it's transmission. It's very different.
Well, that's very, I mean, there's two things I was like you to elaborate, because yes, what is different between teaching, let's say, and transmission, because like you said, it's different. And also when you said earlier, the desire of the analyst, you know, what the specificity of the desire of the analyst.
Okay, there it's easier to answer to your question. The desire of the analyst is against the transference. The refusal to be comment dire
S'identifier à la place.
oui, mais je voulais dire un directeur de conscience, comment on pourrait dire?
I mean, is someone who directs the consciousness?
Yeah. Yes, you know, the priests traditionally are directeurs de conscience. I don't know how you say that in English.
Legislate, I'm supposed to be.
Yes, they lead. You know, they were in the aristocracy. You know, they would talk all the time with the princess and so on to give them indication of how they should act, and you know, and
Castiglione in the 16th century, the book of the courtier, how to behave.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, exactly. And this is in the domain of transference. And the desire of the analyst is led by his refusal to play this game.
Is that like the analyst discourse, or is it different?
Yes, of course, it's in his discourse.
Well, you mean the discourse of the
The other side of psychoanalysis.
Oh, yeah, sure. And yes, of course. Okay. Let's go into this. The symptom is the agent of the discourse of the analyst, and it supposes a knowledge. Okay, you remember, if you're familiar with these, you have A, which supposes the knowledge. Okay, and this is transformed in a subject. This congregation of a symptom and the knowledge which is supposed elaborates, permits the enunciation of a new subject, and which is supposing a trauma or a signifier, master signifier. Okay, and there we have the result, the production. There is, from this symptom, the production of a master signifier. Okay. Why did I say that?
I guess it was about the discourse.
Yes. We have the knowledge here. Okay. And the desire of the analyst is to keep this as much as possible. And there, in S2, what do we have? We have the subject supposed to know. If I bring you my symptom, I suppose that you know something about it in a position of truth. This is the truth, which is here. Okay? I suppose you know something about it. Okay? Up to the very end, when it's me who owns this knowledge. I own the knowledge that I had put into the other, who is the analyst.
And what about this idea of the desire of the analyst aiming at maximal difference between the ideal and the object?
Say
Right?
again?
I mean, the desire of the analyst aiming at the maximal difference between the ideal and the object in the position of the analyst, that the analyst does not take on the position of the ideal.
I don't understand your question, I'm sorry.
No, I was just making a statement. I mean, my understanding was that there was one definition that Lacan gave of the desire of the analyst, is trying to achieve maximal difference between the ideal and the object.
Yes,
What's the
yes,
ideal?
yes.
The ideal that's imputed to the analyst?
Right.
Okay. As the subject supposed to know?
Right.
Now, in the specific case of the transfers, there is, the sort of positioning of the analyst. But then when you say he fights transfers, are you also saying something about the specific transfers, let's say a repetition of a punitive thought or whatever. So are you saying refusing that position? But I'm not saying, no, I don't want to be that, but is that part of what you're saying? Imaginary transfer.
There is something, it's a good question, because maybe there is something that remains here as a transference, but is what has been called the work transference, transfert de travail.
Right.
Okay? Which probably is never solved, but which can be a tool for the work of analysts.
So, question.
Yeah.
In our community where we live, we often hear, let's say, the following thing, that the patient pressures the analyst to enact something.
Sure.
And that is part of the, that would be an aspect of transference. Let's
Exactly.
say the patient tries to provoke the analyst to be punitive or critical. And now, in our neck of the woods, what we're taught to do, although, I think it's problematic, but what we're taught to do is to say something like, it seems that you expect me to act in a critical way right now. Or it seems that you're trying to provoke me into doing something to you. Now, people talk this way. This is analysts talk to patients. Yeah, this is, so my countertransference is, I feel critical. Oh, the patient must have put this into me to provoke me into. I'm not going to be provoked. Instead, I'm going to name what I think is happening.
And why not cut the session?
Yeah, well,
No, we don't cut sessions.
we don't cut sessions, but I'm not saying this is a good thing. I'm telling you.
Yeah, because look, it's what you're describing, as far as I understand it, it's a manifestation of the superego of the analysant. And the best tool, because you're stuck. The best tool for the analyst in front, when he is submerged by superego of the analysant, is to cut the session. Stop. Okay, come next week. Full stop. Whether it's after 5 minutes or half an hour. Because you explained that very clearly. You are stuck. And your symptom is not to interrupt the session, and then you have to say something. And so you enter a repetition.
And to speak to it the way I said, you're repeating.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. That's a major dividing line.
Exactly.
Between Lacanians and, let's say, Kleinians.
Yeah, exactly. Because there, you refuse to let the frustration act because it's, well, you are my superego and do something. Okay,
Why aren't you
goodbye.
punishing me enough?
What?
Why aren't you punishing me?
Yeah, please give me a whip.
I wonder to what extent, I mean, I've been thinking about this, you know, how you can do the cut in France. And there's a social context that people expect that to happen when they enter psychoanalysis with Lacan.
Sure.
So I think there's a, you know, we are within a discourse of colleagues, analysts, and then what does that mean to cut a session? This could be, I mean, I know what they would say if we said that is, oh, this is such a sadistic act to end the session at that point. The act out, no, but I mean,
I understand, yeah.
You know, you are being very sadistic by doing that. And plus, it's against regulation. You could be sued for malpractice because you do this erratic thing. I mean, I'm just...
Yeah, I know.
So you have this, the social context that does not, that's, it's no excuse, but I think that it's sort of, you have a particular, that we are up against. I mean,
It's so weird for me to rely on a robot called the clock or watch. And how can I say that? You let the analysand acquire a knowledge on you. He knows that you are stuck with your robot, personal robot. So you're not blank. To remain blank, look, I can give you an example. During one stage of my analysis, my analyst, a few times I didn't come to the session. And the next time I came, he told me, hey, you shouldn't, you have to come, and so on and so on. Okay, I said, well, okay. Then I came back home and I thought, I said, that is stupid what he told me. I decide when I come and I can analyze. So the next time I came to, so in a way I was acquiring knowledge on him. And the next time I come and I say immediately, hey, I absolutely disagree with what you told me last time. And you know what he said? Oh, what I told you was absolutely stupid. Full stop. Then he was blank again. You see?
yeah.
And that's how it is. And Lacan explained that very, very clearly, saying that the position of the analyst is just like the position, the place of the dummy in playing bridge. The cards are open on the table. You are not supposed to be behind your patient to hide. You're not supposed to hide. You're supposed to show things. You're not perfect. And
see the effects, like you said. See the effects of what you show.
okay, instead of
But it's interesting to get back to Martine's example, that there may not be, even if you cut the session, because there's no way out of the dual relation and the punitive aspects of what's being called for by the patient in the transference, you still might be enacting a punitive measure by cutting the session.
Well, especially if you're in this culture. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's culture bound.
Yeah.
You know, there's something
yes,
about-
but it's punition, if we use that term, which is absolutely not what the patient expects. You are really deceiving.
That's a good point. It's a different kind of thing.
Yeah, you're not going to use a whip.
No, I'm talking about also when you had a conversation with colleagues. you say that you're cutting the session, that they are
They're stopped.
Okay, let's just finish that and then we can enter some more discussion. So in the becoming analyst, it's a way of saying. If we are more specific, I would say to become a non-analyst. Why is that? There is an inner contradiction to say, I am a psychoanalyst. It is not an ontology psychoanalyst. I am working as an analyst when some analysants say, you are my analyst. But I cannot say I am psychoanalyst. I cannot believe that. But
That's pretty smart.
you are. So that's why Lacan invented this term of non-analyst.
C'est comme les chansons de Gainsbourg. Ça fait penser à une chanson de Gainsbourg. Non, non, c'était
Oh yeah. It's a very, very romantic, very poetic song said about the non-demand to marry.
saying, I'm asking you not to marry, but it's all about asking to marry in a negative force.
Yeah. Okay, so we can, in a way that can be the end of the process. It's from xenopathy to non-analyst. Okay.
That's
So
for the end.
yeah.
For the training.
Yeah. Here. Okay, we are within the red circle. There, if there is and where is the ethics extremely important is we have to remember that Lacan told us that like an alert to the analyst, saying never forget that a moron going through psychoanalysis always becomes a crook. A crook, un canaille. Un débile soumis à la psychanalyse devient une canaille. Un débile chez qui a pas d'éthique, qui devient une canaille. Becomes a crook.
Serge André, the Belgian analyst, he had a few of his cases that he felt quite bad about, because he started as someone with a symptom who had a perfect structure, and then when he, in the course of the treatment, in a couple of cases in the course like that where, they didn't have any more inhibitions, and they were fine. So it's a dilemma.
And sometimes they say, "Oh, it's too bad Hitler didn't go through analysis," and we can answer that if he had been through analysis, he would have won the war.
It's like the old David Mamet movie, House of Games, where the psychiatrist who thinks she's the expert in criminal behavior through her exposure to being conned ends up becoming a thief and a con artist herself and a murderer by the end of the film.
I haven't seen that film.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, what can I say?
Okay. I want to put some verbs, some words here in between because it might help. I'll put that here. So we have here, put back the transference. And here, the desire of the analyst. So we have a gradation. So if we have here, for instance, hypnosis, we have identifications, we have the symptoms or symptoms, we have the fantasies, and the drive. And this is, well, it's a bit simple, but it can give some hints, you know. The analyst wants to listen, doesn't want to listen to hypnosis, or, you know, it's in a way it's better if he listens to fantasies or drive, you know. It's a way to put things in a longer line, okay. The more we go there, the more we accept the transference. The more we go this way, the less we accept transference. The more the desire of the analyst is expressed, is relevant. Okay. He gives a hint, very interesting, that I see in my paper. The opposite of to live the drive, would be to comment on dit confondre? To confuse desire and demand.
Wait, can you say that again?
What he said is the opposite of to live the drive would be what we are always taken in when we are in a demand of love, is to be confused by taking the desire instead, by taking the demand instead of the desire. And there is, I think, that's a hint, interesting hint, because by our drive knows more than we think, in the way that we usually do not feel comfortable with the demand instead of desire. By love demand instead of desire. We know when it's a path which is dangerous and a path which is okay.
So
the path which is...
more comfortable with demand than desire.
No, the opposite. To live one's drive means, in this case, to let oneself to be driven by one's desire instead of by one's demand, or the demand of love demand of the other.
Yeah, no, as an analyst, it seems to me we feel much more better. We feel satisfied in a good way if desire is in the room rather than demand. I mean, relatively speaking.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if there's
Absolutely.
a lot of demand, then you're feeling
That's right.
pushed around, or you're pushed around.
You're taken here.
Yeah.
Well, the question of responsibility comes in, the desire that somebody gets bigger.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
Okay, that's about what I wanted to say, and
I wanted to hear more about knots and topology.
That's really important.
Got a couple of hours more? Well, tomorrow if you wish. I'm here till Friday. Oh, it's interesting. Yeah.
Well, I have a question. At the
Yes.
beginning, when you said the patient comes in saying, I want an analysis. And my first thought was, patients almost never come in wanting an analysis. Then I thought, well, but maybe the French definition of analysis is, we have a pretty rigid definition. 4 times a week, 5 times a week, using the couch. No, that's not what you mean.
No.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. It's a singular experience. Analysis is going to be invented by the analysant, and and that's again one proof that psychoanalysis is not a science. It is a discourse. It is something that is impossible to repeat. A session will never be repeated. And it is not deniable. It's not falsifiable. What your patient says, it is true or false, but it is irrefutable. So we are not in the realm of science, by definition.
Yeah.
And it's singular. It's with the invention of something never happened before, and that's why I think we love this work as a work.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about these meetings we've had organized about, there are at the IPA these meetings where there are clinicians presenting their work to the group of the commission, and then the other clinician are trying to assess what has happened in the work, and it's I'm not sure. I don't know if you've gone to.
Yeah, there's different kinds of things that the IDA does.
So there was one.
The control, the CCM, the
The one
clinical
that we had
methods.
here, I think it's the one. There was one.
Clinical
that
methods, more
was-
specificity of psychoanalysis, which is different.
But I wonder if it's still part of that science project. If
Yeah.
you could
Like
find
empirical
ways to
research.
measure and change, what makes change in an analysis outside of the room, because after all, as if that was possible. And
Yeah.
maybe there is something like the past involved that's sort of.
I didn't catch what you were
Well,
saying.
what the IPA has tried to do is to get away from big systematic research, looking at many cases. Instead, they look at one case, but with a method that everybody in the room agrees to a particular kind of method to assess what's going on in the case. And then they look at detailed process. But part of it is the effort is to get everybody to use the same language to talk about the case. Otherwise, you can't even begin to talk. So at least you get your terms. The terms are the same.
Yeah. It's a bit like the DSM.
It's a little bit like the DSM.
Except for psychoanalysis.
Yeah.
But of course, it's contrary to the whole idea of singularity and absolute difference.
Right.
Sure.
So it's not possible. It isn't a possibility. And I wonder if that's what, when you were, when you wrote about the training of analysts, that there is a method to do that, and you raising the questions at every corner, that doesn't address it. So,
If you are familiar with the 4 discourses, what's very important is to observe in these discourses, and I mean mainly in the discourse of the university vs the discourse of the analyst, is questioning where is the knowledge. In the discourse of the university, it is the knowledge who is the agent. which is going to build a new doctor, a new analyst, a new whatever, because it is constituted by the knowledge, which is the agent. In the discourse of the analyst, the knowledge is supposed to the symptom. What is brought by the analysant supposes the existence of a knowledge.
Right.
The analysant enters an imaginary position, believing that it is the analyst who has this knowledge, and the process goes up to the point when he has. But nonetheless, it is always a symptom or objects supposing a knowledge. So that's, for me, these two positions are incompatible.
So the knowledge is on the upper left.
On the side of the analysant. The analysant has the knowledge.
Right.
The analysant just thinks we have the knowledge.
Right.
On the discourse of the university, we have the knowledge here. Okay, it's above c'est l'agent. It's the agent of the process.
So there's that question about transmission and how it's different from teaching.
Right.
Or
Well, you
training.
could have transmission in teaching, depending on what kind of teaching. That's true. I felt like I had an experience in it was a clinical seminar. It was a theoretical seminar. Like someone brought a clinical example, and then something happened in the exchange that led to some realization about what she was talking about and what she was really, the difference between what she thought she was saying and what she. So it can happen, and I'm sure that's happened.
Yeah.
In the discourse of the university, this knowledge is going to produce a new subject who is relevant to say, oh yes, you are a doctor.
Yeah.
But it's a divided subject.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I never quite understand, when you go from S2 to A on the other side there, on the top, to the right, you have
Yeah.
the blank there. Right, so I don't understand. The student is in the position of A. If you are in the realm of the domain of the discourse of the university, the agent being a knowledge, suppose there is a master signifier which can be the Newton law, which can be the Einstein law, which can be the thesis of someone who wished to become a PhD. Okay, this could be in a way the core of a thesis.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is transformed. This is presented as an object, or as the support or the object of desire. Okay, which is supposing the existence of the new subject, which is the doctor. So this knowledge is producing a doctor. And what is presented here, instead of the knowledge, this is the process which transform in a way, which is presented as the object, which can be the thesis, the book.
So does that mean that implies that it can all be known? There's nothing left to be unknown.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, and when if you go through, if you assist to the presentation of a thesis, you are going to see that the members of the jury are going to they've got rifles and they're going to be terrible with the doctorant.
Mm-hmm. And that would be what then? To be terrible. That would be
To question the S1.
to question this one.
And then you're a resistant analysis, right? Then you're a recalcitrant analysis.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
You don't want to listen to it sounds,
right.
you don't want to listen to your master analyst who
yeah.
knows, but this is not the discourse of the master though.
No, I
but it's-
would think it's the
No.
opposite. I would think it's the analyst who believes everything that the analyst says. That is
Rather
You mean in the discourse of the?
the objects, that just can all be taken in and nothing is left
I
over.
see, okay, I see.
Yeah, I think that's.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, the object A is the place of the student, let's say, who wants to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's helpful.
Exactly.
Okay. No. Let's do that.
To give you, if we have 2 minutes, at what time do we finish?
Oh, well, I said 9 o'clock, I thought.
Okay, just to give you something that's a bit topological. The question is, what is the meaning of these arrows? Why do they cross? Okay, that's the question.
Yeah?
Can I
Yeah, you can erase that.
erase that?
Do it for tomorrow when they have seminars.
Okay. Okay. When I wish to say something, okay, and instead of saying the S, or let's call it SA, I have a slip of the tongue, and I say something else. So that the time T0, and at the time T1, I realized that I said something else. Okay? But at the time T0, that was totally unconscious that I had said SB. Okay? But just one fraction of a second after, it comes to my consciousness that I said SB. Okay? And there is the fact that I used SB instead of SA. Although I wanted to say SA, there is something signified, okay, which can be written SC, and so on and so forth. Okay,
Right.
SC. Okay. The question is. What happened to my mind, because this was totally unconscious and then totally conscious. Although there has not been a huge transformation in my mind, how can that be? What is the structure of this bar, which was so opaque and then so transparent? What would be the easiest way to invent? What can I invent as a structure who would explain very easily that it's blank, impossible to see, and then obvious?
Right.
Answer is a Möbius band. Because if I have on this side SA and on this side SB, and that it is the time that's going like this. After half of a turn, I'm in front of SB. So we can say that the bar, which is the Saussurian bar, is not a fraction bar. It is a Möbius band.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool, as you say. That's cool. And that's what we have here. These ones, it figures the operation of done by the discourse of the university, for instance, is to go along a Möbius bar, which turns S1 into A. Okay, and this is the result of the product, production.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it true for the other discourse too?
Yeah, exactly. Each discourse is the same structure.
No, but I mean in terms of the arrows.
Yeah, exactly. And if well, we don't have the time, but if what it's not very important in that case, as far as I understand. But on the discourse of the master, you see that there is no connection between this and this. And on the discourse of the master, we realize by just writing it that way that the master has no fantasy. The structure of the fantasy, which are on the bottom here S bar and here is A, there is no connection. And the master is buying everything with his slaves and his money. And the result is that he has no fantasy.
Wait, can you explain though how fantasy is symbolized in that? Fantasy is the A.
Okay, okay, very good question. The fantasy, as Lacan described, is the possible temporary connection between a subject and an object of desire. There might be a matching between this subject and this object of desire. But it's a very temporal connection, which is deceiving. It solves the problem, but then the next instant, it's not exactly appropriate. It can be connected or disconnected. That's why Lacan used this term, this design. He figures this as a lozenge, because the lozenge, yeah, it can be closed or open. This is the open position. If it were closed, it would be like this. Okay, and when it's open, it does not. You cannot pass. But when it's closed, you can pass. Okay. There is a fit.
I always want. Okay, good. Thank you.
No, that's helpful.
That's a good. Well, maybe this is a good place to end.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Offering your time to do this.
Yeah, I like. But well.